I didn't apply for this job because I needed money. I applied because the CEO was hot. Ridiculously hot. Like carved from marble, suit tailored to hell, probably has abs that could chop wood hot. His name? Noah Whitaker. 32. CEO of Whitaker Industries. Cold, sharp, terrifying, also single. That last part was important. You're insane. My best friend Mia Carter had whispered when I told her my plan. Literally insane. It's called strategic planning, I replied. Emma, she hissed. You want to marry your boss. Not just any boss, I said, grinning. Noah Whitaker. I have taste. She buried her face in a pillow. So here I was, standing in front of HR in a pencil skirt and 3 layers of fake confidence. They offered me the assistant manager role in another department. I declined. I'd like to apply for the executive assistant position, I said. The recruiter blinked. You want to be Mr. Whitaker's EA? Yes. You're sure? Very. She gave me a long, suspicious look. I'm warning you, his assistants last about a week. Perfect. That's all the time I needed to make him fall in love with me. Day 1. I walked into his office and instantly lost 80% of my brain function. Noah Whitaker was somehow hotter in person. He didn't look up from his laptop. You're late, he said. I'm exactly on time, I replied. He looked up. His eyes were a very specific shade of gray, like storms and secrets. You speak back, he noted. I also make great coffee. He stared at me for a moment too long. Then returned to typing. Let's see how long you last. Challenge accepted. By noon, I delivered 3 sets of reports, rearranged his schedule, and spilled half a cup of espresso on my own blouse. Noah didn't comment on the coffee incident, but he did lower the office temperature by about 10 degrees when I jokingly suggested he should smile more. You're not here to offer personality critiques, he said without looking up. Well, you're not exactly giving me a performance to praise. He slowly raised an eyebrow. I gave him my brightest, fakest assistant smile. At the end of the day, he handed me a file. I need this reviewed and summarized by 8 a.m. tomorrow. I took it, nodded, and waited. Waited for a thank you. Good job. Have a nice evening. He stared. You're still here? Yes. Why? I grinned. Just enjoying your company, Mr. Whitaker. He blinked once, then turned back to his screen like I was a software glitch he couldn't debug. Later that night, I stayed up until 2 a.m. finishing the report. I added a smiley face to the last page. It was petty. I was petty, but it made me feel better. Day 2. Remove the smiley face next time, he said without looking up. I didn't even ask how he noticed. He noticed everything. Day 3. I wore red lipstick. Mia said it was too bold. I said it was a strategy. Noah said nothing, but his eyes lingered a fraction longer than necessary when I handed him his coffee. Progress. By the end of the first week, I'd learned the following things. Noah Whitaker was a control freak. He hated small talk, sweet coffee, and being interrupted mid-thought. He also had the most beautiful hands I'd ever seen. Every time he typed, I found myself staring, imagining things I really shouldn't during work hours. Then came Friday, after a full day of meetings, back-to-back calls, and me resisting the urge to throw myself across his desk and yell, "Love me." Noah finally stood. Cancel all my meetings tomorrow, he said. I blinked. Tomorrow's Saturday. He gave me a look. And, we don't work weekends? You don't. Are you inviting me to work with you on a Saturday? No. Then, I'm taking you with me. Pause. Silence. My heart did something weird. Taking me where? He didn't answer. Just walked past me and said, wear something formal. I'll pick you up at 6. I stared after him like he'd just proposed marriage. Which, technically, was my goal. And now? Now we were going on, what? A date? A business event? A trap? Whatever it was, I was ready. Game on, Mr. CEO. By 5:45 p.m. on Saturday, I was standing in front of my mirror in full panic mode. My black cocktail dress clung a little too tightly. My curls were rebelling, and my heels were daring me to fall and die. Noah Whitaker had said, wear something formal. He hadn't said, wear something breathtakingly perfect so you don't embarrass me. But that's how it felt. At exactly 6 p.m., my doorbell rang. Because of course he was never late. I opened the door, and there he was, tall, dark, and infuriatingly elegant in a fitted suit. He gave me a once-over, eyes lingering for a millisecond too long. Then, in typical Noah fashion, "You clean up well." Was that a compliment? From him? I blinked. "Thank you, sir. I aim to please." He ignored the sarcasm. As usual, the car ride to the venue was quiet. Noah scrolled through his phone, while I stared out the window, mentally rehearsing how to eat hors d'oeuvres without choking in front of billionaires. "Just follow my lead," he said suddenly. I jumped. "At the event," he clarified. "Smile. Speak only when spoken to. Don't start drama. Got it? Be boring. Like you." He gave me a side glance that almost looked amused. The event was a charity gala hosted by the city's richest and most unbearable people. Crystal chandeliers, endless champagne, conversations dripping with pretension. We stepped inside, and instantly, heads turned. People greeted Noah with polite admiration, handshakes, respectful nods, fake laughter. Then they looked at me. Confused, curious, judging. Who's the girl with the ICE CEO a date? An assistant? A mistake? I smiled sweetly and clutched his arm tighter. Let them wonder. Halfway through the night, a woman in red glided over. Tall, sleek, the kind of person who probably did Pilates and judged others who didn't. "Noah," she purred, "I didn't know you brought a +1. Emma Collins," I said, holding out my hand before he could speak. "Executive assistant. Sometimes emotional support human." She blinked. Noah sipped his drink like he hadn't heard a thing. I fought a smirk. Later, while he spoke with some investors, I wandered over to the dessert table. It was stacked with tiny works of art disguised as pastries. I reached for one, and nearly dropped it when someone whispered behind me. "Watching you talk back to Victoria earlier was the highlight of my night." I turned. "Noah, close. Too close. You enjoyed that?" I asked. "Immensely. You're full of surprises." "So are you," he said, voice low. He plucked a macaron from the tray and handed it to me without breaking eye contact. I took it. A stupid flutter stirred in my stomach. As we left the venue later, he opened the car door for me like a gentleman from a movie. Inside, I finally asked what had been circling my brain all night. "Why did you bring me?" He didn't answer right away. Just stared out the window. Then, "Because I knew you'd make it interesting." My breath caught. When he dropped me off, I stepped out of the car, heart pounding. As I reached for the building door, he lowered the window. "Emma." I turned. "Yes? You're not boring." Then the car drove off, leaving me standing there, dazed, blushing, and completely doomed. It happened on a Thursday. A stupid Thursday. 1 minute, Noah was pacing the office, barking orders into his Bluetooth headset. The next minute, crash. He tripped over a rogue power cord and slammed his knee into the corner of his glass desk. Hard. I froze, files slipping from my hands. "Noah," he cursed under his breath, face contorting in pain. Blood was already seeping through the fabric of his pants. "You're bleeding," I squeaked. He shot me a death glare. "Thank you, Captain Obvious." "Hospital," I said, grabbing my purse. "No hospital," he growled. "Noah, your leg is leaking." "I'm not going to a damn hospital for a scratch." "This is not a scratch. It's a horror movie." He leaned heavily against the desk. Jaw tight, stubborn, arrogant, ridiculous man. Before he could argue further, I looped his arm over my shoulders and hauled him up. He stiffened. "I can walk." "Shut up." I practically dragged him out the door, ignoring the stares from the staff. If anyone thought it was weird that the Ice King was being manhandled by his assistant, well, let them. Once we got to his car, he gave in and let me drive. Probably because he realized he couldn't operate a gas pedal with a bleeding leg. Or because he secretly liked bossy women. Hard to say. Instead of the hospital, I took him straight to his penthouse. Because fine. I couldn't exactly force a billionaire into the At least at home, I could patch him up without the media catching wind of it. His apartment was exactly what I expected. Minimalist. Expensive. Cold. Except, there were little signs of life. A book left open on the coffee table. A half-finished mug of black coffee by the window. A framed photo of a much younger Noah, smiling shyly with a woman I guessed was his sister. Rachel Whitaker. I helped him to the couch. Stay. I ordered. He scowled but obeyed. I rummaged through the cabinets until I found a first aid kit. By the time I returned, he had pulled off his suit jacket and rolled up his pant leg. The sight made me blink. Because, okay, thigh muscles. Real ones. Not the Photoshop kind. Focus. Emma, I muttered to myself. He smirked faintly, hearing me. I knelt beside him, hands shaking slightly as I cleaned the wound. He didn't flinch, didn't complain, just watched me with those unreadable gray eyes. You're good at this, he said quietly. Minor in battlefield medicine, I joked. He chuckled, an actual laugh. A small one, but real. My heart skipped. Once the bandage was secure, I sat back on my heels. There, I said. Fixed. Thanks, he said. Simple, sincere. For a second, neither of us moved. The air shifted, thickened. His eyes dropped to my lips. My breath caught. He leaned in, just slightly, almost like. My phone buzzed. I jumped a foot into the air. He blinked, startled, and leaned back. I scrambled to grab my phone. Heart pounding. It was Mia. Emergency. Should I buy the 5-inch or 6-inch heels? SOS. I groaned. Noah smirked. Saved by the Mia, he said dryly. I shoved my phone away and stood up, smoothing my skirt. Okay, you're all set. I'll get out of your hair now. He raised an eyebrow. You're leaving? Yes? He stared at me for a long moment. Then, to my shock, he said, stay. My brain short-circuited. What? You saved my leg. Stay. Order dinner. Lily's Diner. You like their burgers. I gawked. He noticed what I liked. He remembered? Fine. I mumbled, grabbing his phone to place the order. As I did, I caught him smiling faintly at me. Not the cold, smug smile he showed the world. A real one. Warm, gentle, rare. Maybe Thursday wasn't so stupid after all. After that night at his apartment, something changed. Subtle at first. Noah Whitaker still wore his usual scowl to work, still drank his coffee black and answered emails like they'd personally offended him. But now, he started waiting for me at the elevator in the mornings. He started texting first, short, dry things like, open black lens bracket breakfast, close black lens bracket open black lens bracket you're late. Again, close black lens bracket open black lens bracket you wore that lipstick on purpose. Close black lens bracket. I did. One morning, I walked into the office to find a cappuccino on my desk. With oat milk and cinnamon, my exact order. There was no note, but I didn't need one. You're smiling like a lunatic, Mia whispered during our lunch break. I am a lunatic, I replied dreamily. You're in love. Am not. She raised an eyebrow. He brought you coffee with cinnamon, that's basically a proposal. I choked on my salad. That afternoon, I was filing invoices when Noah called me into his office. I straightened my skirt, cleared my throat, and stepped inside like a totally normal assistant who definitely wasn't crushing hard on her boss. He didn't look up. Close the door, he said. I did. He finally raised his eyes. And for once, they weren't cold. They were soft. Which was more terrifying. I have a conference in Chicago next weekend, he said. 2 nights. Okay, I replied, scribbling notes. You're coming with me. I blinked. Me? Yes. Why? He arched an eyebrow. You're my assistant. And you don't trust local assistants? I don't trust anyone but you. Oh no. My heart tripped over itself. Also, he added, voice lower. I need someone to keep me sane and you're distracting enough to do that. I stared. You want me to distract you? Professionally? A ghost of a smirk tugged at his lips. Very professionally. The next few days were a blur of planning, flights, hotels, documents, wardrobe panic. I definitely didn't spend an entire evening trying on outfits for a totally professional business trip with my definitely not crush-worthy boss. Spoiler. I did. On the day of the trip, Noah picked me up in a car that probably cost more than my college education. "You're on time," he noted. "You sound shocked." "I am." I grinned, then caught him glancing at my legs. He looked away too fast. Progress. The flight was first class, of course. Noah worked. I stared at the clouds. He passed me a protein bar without looking. "Eat. Are you managing my diet now?" "Yes." I took a bite anyway. It tasted like cardboard and affection. That night, the hotel was a 5-star palace. We had separate rooms, obviously, but the hallway between them felt charged. When I knocked on his door to deliver some final reports, he opened it in a black t-shirt and sweatpants. I forgot how to speak. His hair was damp from a shower. He looked dangerous. He leaned on the doorframe. "Can I help you, Miss Collins?" I held out the folder. "Reports. For tomorrow." "Thank you," he said, but didn't take it. Instead, he watched me, studied me, like I was the document he actually cared about. "You should sleep," he said after a long pause. "I will." He nodded once, slowly, and finally took the folder. But as I turned to go, he spoke again. "Emma?" I turned back. "Yeah?" His eyes were serious. "Don't ever flirt with someone else again." My breath caught. "I wasn't." "I know," he said, "but don't." "Why?" He stepped closer. "Because it drives me insane." I stared. He stared back. Then he reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers brushed my cheek. "I don't know what we're doing yet," he said, "but whatever it is, it's mine. You're mine." And just like that, the game wasn't mine anymore. Things unraveled faster than expected. We arrived at the hotel in Chicago. Checked in like professionals. Exchanged polite nods like coworkers. And then, "We're terribly sorry," the receptionist said with an apologetic smile. "There's been a last-minute booking error. We only have one suite available tonight." Noah's jaw tensed. I froze. "One suite. One room. One bed?" "Get another," Noah said coolly. "I'm afraid we're fully booked for a convention. But the suite has 2 separate sleeping areas." "I'll handle it," I whispered quickly, tugging his sleeve. He glanced down at me. Eyebrows raised. "It's fine," I muttered. "It's just one night." A long pause. Then he nodded once. "Fine." The suite was massive. 2 rooms separated by frosted sliding doors. A luxurious living space, modern decor, and, yes, one very king-sized bed visible through a half-open door. Noah dropped his suitcase without a word. I stood awkwardly near the minibar. "This doesn't have to be weird," I blurted. He arched an eyebrow. "I wasn't making it weird." "Okay, just checking." More silence. Then, "I'll take the couch," he said. Relief flooded me. "Thanks." After a long shower and some awkward shifting of pillows, I emerged from the bathroom in my oversized t-shirt and leggings. Noah was already stretched out on the couch, one arm draped over his forehead. He looked exhausted and stupidly handsome. "You okay?" I asked. He cracked one eye open. "Mentally? No. Physically? Debatable. Need anything?" "A better couch." I grinned. "Well, I'm not giving up the bed." He smiled, just a little. I turned off the lights and crawled under the covers. The room was dark, quiet, humming with unsaid things. Then, "Emma," Noah's voice cut through the dark. "Yeah? Can I ask you something?" "Sure." Another pause. Then, "Why me?" My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" He shifted on the couch. "Why did you apply to be my assistant? Everyone warned you I'm impossible to work with, and yet you walked right into it." I hesitated. Honesty danced on the tip of my tongue. But I wasn't ready. "Not yet. I liked the challenge," I said instead. Silence. Then, "I'm glad you did." The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee. I stumbled out of bed to find Noah in the kitchenette. Shirtless. Making espresso. Shirtless. Bare chest. Low sweatpants. Brain equals gone. "You're up," He said casually, as if he wasn't ruining my entire ability to function. You made coffee? I managed. He handed me a cup. Black. No sugar. Bossy. I muttered, sipping anyway. It was perfect. We went to the conference like nothing had changed. But everything had. The way he stood closer. The way his hand hovered at my back. The way he looked at me when no one else was watching. Like I was his favorite distraction. That night, back in the suite, I offered the bed. He refused. Take the bed. I insisted. No. Why? He met my eyes. Because if I sleep next to you tonight, I'm not sleeping. Silence. My face went up in flames. He didn't apologize. Didn't look away. He meant it. Every word. And suddenly, I wasn't scared. I crossed the room slowly. Took the coffee mug from his hands. Set it down. Then said, maybe, neither of us should sleep tonight. He stepped forward. Closed the space between us. His hand found my waist, my fingers curled into his shirt. When he kissed me, it was nothing like the first time. It was deeper, hotter, real. A decision, not a question. No more pretending. No more teasing. Just us. The morning after didn't feel like a mistake. Which was probably the most terrifying part. When I opened my eyes, sunlight streamed through the curtains, painting golden stripes across the hotel room. I was warm, safe, and wrapped in Noah Whitaker's arms. His breathing was even, his face soft in sleep, so unlike the version of him the world saw. I could have stared at him for hours. Instead, I slipped out of bed as gently as I could. By the time he stirred, I was already in the kitchenette, awkwardly making coffee like I hadn't just spent the night tangled up with my boss. He appeared 10 minutes later, freshly showered, wearing his usual white shirt half-buttoned, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly damp, dangerous, composed, still mine, at least for now. Morning, he said, voice rough with sleep. Coffee, I replied, sliding a cup across the counter. He took a sip and gave me a look. This is better than mine. I'm full of surprises. He smiled. That small, rare smile that felt like it was just for me. The flight home was quiet, not awkward. Just, reflective. He worked. I pretended to read. Our knees touched once. Neither of us moved. Back in the office Monday morning. I expected the worst. Awkward silences. Avoidance. Regret. Instead, Noah waited for me in the elevator. He pressed the button for the top floor and said casually, "You're having lunch with me." I blinked. I am? Yes. And I did. Every day that week. Sometimes in his office. Sometimes out. No explanations. No rules. He never said we were dating. He never labeled it. But he started bringing me coffee before I asked. Started walking me to my car every evening. Once, he even placed a hand on my back in front of another executive, subtle. Possessive, unmistakably his way of saying, mine. Mia noticed immediately. You've officially broken him, she whispered one afternoon. He's smiling. In public. At people. I grinned. But deep down, I was scared. Because this wasn't a game anymore. Not for me. It all came crashing down at his sister's engagement dinner. Rachel Whitaker, lovely, poised, terrifying, had invited me and Noah. Which made sense. What didn't make sense was how Noah introduced me. This is Emma, he told their mother, my assistant. Assistant. Not girlfriend. Not partner. Just, assistant. I smiled, said the right things, played the polite role. But inside, I cracked. Because I knew Noah wasn't the type to share his emotions easily. But after everything, the late nights, the touches, the look in his eyes when he thought I wasn't watching, I had hoped. Later that night, back at my apartment, I sat alone in silence, staring at the wall, trying not to cry over a man who had never made promises. Trying not to fall for someone who never said stay. And then, he knocked. Because of course he did. Noah never texted when he could just show up and ruin my emotional stability in person. I opened the door. He looked unsure. Like he knew he'd messed up and had no idea how to fix it. Emma, he said. Just my name. Soft. Almost afraid. I crossed my arms. What am I to you? His jaw flexed. You know what you are. No, I said, voice sharp. I thought I did. But tonight, I panicked. He admitted. That stopped me cold. Noah Whitaker panicked. He ran a hand through his hair. I looked at my mother, my sister, and thought, if I told them the truth, they'd know how badly I want this, how badly I want you. My breath caught. Is that so terrible? I whispered. No, he said, it's terrifying. He stepped forward, gently cupped my cheek. I'm not used to needing anyone but you. I need you so badly it hurts. My eyes burned. And just like that, all the fear, all the uncertainty, all the walls melted. I need you too, I whispered. And for once, no one was teasing. No games. Just truth. Just us. After that night, everything changed. Noah Whitaker didn't just hold my hand behind closed doors anymore. He held it in elevators and parking lots at coffee shops. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like he couldn't bear not touching me. The office gossip exploded. Open black lens bracket, are they dating? Close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket, Mrs. Turner is real. Close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket, I saw him smile at her yesterday. Smile. At a human. Close black lens bracket. I pretended not to notice. Noah didn't even bother pretending. He brushed a kiss against my forehead in the break room once. Right in front of the VP of Finance. The man nearly dropped his latte. Mia was losing her mind. You did it, she whispered at lunch. You broke the Ice King. I grinned into my salad. It wasn't about breaking him. It was about seeing him, really seeing him, and still choosing him. And somehow, he chose me too. One evening, Noah showed up at my apartment carrying a large brown bag. What's that? I asked. He smirked. Dinner. Inside was takeout from my favorite diner. A bouquet of daisies. And a bottle of wine. My heart melted into a puddle. We ate on the couch. Legs tangled together. He stole fries off my plate. I let him. Mostly. You're annoying, I said, smacking his hand away. He just grinned. After dinner, we sprawled on the couch. I rested my head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. Safe. Real. Home. He played with my hair absent-mindedly. You know, he said, voice low. I used to think relationships were a weakness. I looked up. And now? He kissed the top of my head. Now I think, loving you might be the smartest thing I've ever done. Tears pricked my eyes. We sat there in silence for a while. Then Noah cleared his throat, awkward. Uncharacteristic. I pulled back to look at him. His cheeks were faintly pink. Noah Whitaker, blushing. Something big was coming. I could feel it. I have a meeting with my lawyer tomorrow. He said casually. I blinked. Okay? About revising my will. My stomach dropped. Noah, are you dying? He laughed, an actual, full-bodied laugh. No, but I want to add someone. My brain stalled. Someone? Someone important enough to be in his will? Someone like a future wife. He said, voice soft. The world tilted. My hands trembled. Was he? Was this? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart slammed against my ribs. He flipped it open. Inside was a simple, beautiful ring. Not flashy. Not extravagant. Just perfect. Not now, he said quickly, seeing the shock on my face. I know it's fast. I know we're crazy. He took my hand. But someday when you're ready, when you want. His thumb brushed over my knuckles. I'm not going anywhere. Tears blurred my vision. I managed a watery laugh. You're really bad at proposing. You know. He smiled. Practice makes perfect. I launched myself into his arms. He caught me easily, burying his face in my hair. I love you, I whispered. I know, he murmured. And I love you back. Always. It took 3 months. 3 months of late-night talks, shared coffees, soft kisses in elevators. 3 months of learning each other's quirks. How I hogged the blankets. How he hated cilantro. How we both secretly loved terrible rom-coms. 3 months of realizing that loving Noah Whitaker wasn't terrifying anymore. It was easy. Natural. Inevitable. The official proposal happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon. No fancy dinner. No flash mobs. Just Noah and me, curled up on the couch, half watching a terrible action movie. He turned the TV off mid-explosion. I blinked at him. What are you doing? I was invested. He smiled, that rare, soft smile he saved only for me. Then he pulled out the same velvet box. No speeches. No theatrics. Just, marry me. I laughed. Half from nerves. Half from pure, blinding joy. Are you sure? I teased. I'm high maintenance. I require coffee, cuddles, and near constant admiration. I'm willing to suffer. He deadpanned. I pretended to think. Lifetime suffering. Sounds serious. He leaned closer. Emma Collins. He said quietly. You've been driving me insane from the moment you walked into my office. I thought you hated me. I whispered. I hated how much I noticed you. I kissed him. Right there. Messy and breathless and perfect. And when I pulled back, I whispered against his lips. Yes. The wedding was small. Family. A few friends. Mia sobbing uncontrollably. Rachel Whitaker stood as my maid of honor, smirking the whole time. Noah wore a black suit and a look that said he was absolutely getting everything he wanted today. Which, apparently, was me. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Noah didn't hesitate. He kissed me like we had all the time in the world. And none at all. The kind of kiss that said, "Mine. Always." Later, at the reception, Mia pulled me aside, still sniffling. You realize you pulled off the most impressive workplace romance ever, right? I grinned. It wasn't just about work. She rolled her eyes. No kidding. The man looks at you like you hung the stars. That night, after we escaped the crowd and collapsed into our honeymoon suite, I lay beside him, tracing lazy circles on his chest. I still can't believe you married your assistant. I teased. He caught my hand and pressed a kiss to my palm. You weren't my assistant, he said. You were always my weakness. I laughed softly. Good. Because you were always my plan. And as he pulled me closer, whispering promises against my skin, I realized, maybe I had set out to tease the CEO. But somewhere along the way, I had fallen hopelessly, completely, irrevocably in love, with my boss, with my best friend, with my forever.